Let's get into the top 10 as I see them right now, and here we go. The top 10 teams, I start with Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State we haven't seen yet, but I'm eager to see them. Notre Dame, not bad, but not great. Then we get into some of that SEC, Auburn, LSU, can't wait to see them. Texas, I know I have them ranked higher than most people want. Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma jumps up to number 3. And then, of course, Clemson and Alabama right now, kind of the class of at least the current teams playing. And we'll see if Ohio State can jump up into that mix, depending on what the Big Ten decides to do. That being said, Oklahoma did make a bit of a jump for me. They jumped up from number 4 to number 3 after I saw them play. And I had a lot of questions about Oklahoma, but it wasn't really Oklahoma that I wanted to talk about right now. It is their conference. Hey, everybody. The Big 12 is dead conversation. Please just relax, okay? It's 1 week of college football, and this stuff absolutely happens. It happens. So the whole Sun Belt is better than the entire Big 12, or the Big 12 is dead, just pump your brakes. I've got 3 reasons why everybody out there just needs to slow down and let the season play out, in particular in Big 12 country. Let me start with reason number 1. Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, led by Bill Napier, Arkansas State, those are good football teams. Blake Anderson's got something real at Arkansas State. I was there in Manhattan, Kansas, and watched them beat Kansas State. All right. Their wide receiver, Jay Adams, is an NFL talent. This is a program that has 9 straight winning seasons. They've won a bunch of Sun Belt Conference championships over the course of the years. They've been in bowl games. They've done it all, and that's a good program. And they've got some really good players. And they came in and they beat a Kansas State team that didn't have the offseason, no spring practices, compared to Arkansas State had about 7 spring practices. They had to replace their entire offensive line and all their defensive tackles, and they got beat. It happens. Meanwhile, Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana led by Bill Napier, goes up there. That's a team that was really, really good last year. Remember, this is an 11-3 football team coming back, and they went up there and beat Iowa State. They had good special teams play. They won the turnover battle. Guess what happens when a good team does that? They win the football game. Let's stop with the whole Big 12 is dead. And everyone's like, well, Coastal Carolina beat Kansas. It's Kansas. Like, relax. When Vandy gets beat by somebody or Illinois gets beat by somebody, you don't say that the SEC or the Big Ten are absolutely dead and buried, do you? No, you don't. Because that brings me to my number 2 point. We rate conferences about what they do at the top. So let's not get all bent out of shape about what happened with Iowa State and Kansas when we know that the Big 12's strength sits within Oklahoma, Texas, and probably Oklahoma State. We haven't seen the Cowboys yet. I'm excited to see them play. And the other 2 big boys, Oklahoma and Texas, they looked amazing. Now, albeit, they didn't play anybody. Well, fine. Whatever you want to say about that. But guess what? They did exactly what they should do. The games were over at kickoff. Spencer Rattler and Sam Ehlinger looked unbelievable. Those 2 guys look like they're going to put together Heisman campaigns. Nothing new for Oklahoma. Their quarterback is always in the Heisman race. Sam Ehlinger, maybe this is the year that he gets into the Heisman race after a long, storied, at least in my estimation, career at the University of Texas. Those 2 teams are really good. And guess what? We're going to rate the conference based on what they are at the top. If you don't believe me, look at the ACC. That conference is absolutely weak. I don't want to say trash because I don't want to be hyperbolic, okay? I don't want to do that. But I will say that it's not a strong conference. But guess what? Nobody says anything. Why? Because Clemson's there. They're sitting there as one of the premier college football programs in the country. So we just don't talk about the rest of the ACC. It doesn't matter that Clemson beat the rest of the ACC by 31 points a game last year. The only 1-possession game that they had in conference was North Carolina. North Carolina didn't look great last weekend. So that was my number 2 point. We rate conferences based on what they are at the top. And number 3, this stuff happens. Why all of a sudden are we shocked when we see a group of 5 team beat a Power 5 team? This happens every single year. In fact, let me just list off what we saw a year ago. Hey, ACC, remember when Boise State beat Florida State last year? Or when App State beat North Carolina? Because I remember that. Hey, SEC, remember when Georgia State beat Tennessee? Same Tennessee team that we think is going to be ranked this year, and I'm very high on, by the way. But remember when Georgia State beat them? Yeah, I remember that. Remember when Wyoming went in and beat Missouri, SEC? Oh, that's right. Was the SEC dead at that point? I don't think so. Hey, Big Ten, remember when Eastern Michigan beat Illinois? I remember that. Remember when Nevada beat Purdue? I remember that. Hey, Pac-12, remember the several losses you took to the group of 5 last year. San Diego State over UCLA, Air Force over Colorado, Hawaii beat both Arizona and Oregon State, San Jose State beat Arkansas. SEC, where were you at then? All I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to do anything other than prove a point. We don't rate conferences based on what's happening in the middle. These types of games happen. We rate conferences about what's happening on top. So look at Oklahoma, look at Texas, and just remember, in the Sun Belt, Louisiana and Arkansas State are both really good football teams. They should be right up there, the cream of the crop when it comes to the Sun Belt team, and maybe we're going to see them in a New Year's Six bowl game, depending on what happens in the postseason. So there you have it. Big 12 country, just relax. You're going to be just fine.